A petition calling for justice for a 7-year-old girl has gained significant traction on social media. I'm now joined by Bulelwa Adonis from Women for Change. People are outraged, Bulelwa, it's terrible what allegedly happened to this young girl.
It's definitely disheartening. It shines a spotlight on the reality of what's going on in our country. So it is disgusting. It's disheartening, to say the least.
Of course, we have to go beyond being outraged. This scourge has been with us for a very long time, and it seems we are making very little, if any, progress.
It definitely feels like that. I mean, in pertaining this single case that has sparked outrage, the fact that this occurred last year, October, and here we are 7 months down the line, it's 2025, April. It paints a crystal clear picture on like how slow our justice system is and how we lack justice in this country.
Is it only that, though? In other words, is it only the fact that the mills of justice tend to grind slowly that we don't seem to be making progress?
When it comes to something like gender-based violence and femicide, it's I see it as an onion. We have to peel so many layers, if I can say the very least, because it's bigger than this. It's bigger than the state of our justice system. There's so many factors pertaining this. It's the lack of accountability in this country. It is the selective activism from time to time, how we have momentary anger as opposed to keeping the foot on the pedal in terms of putting pressure on, policy changes onto our government, and also taking initiative ourselves as, community members, like we're seeing with what occurred today with marches, in every province, with us as a society saying that enough is enough, but like maintaining this and not just, it taking one case, to say the least, that this understanding that one case should shine a broader light on what's actually occurring. Because if you're paying attention to social media, that because of this one case, we now are unveiling so many other cases of other individuals.
What other levers do you feel we still haven't used?
I mean, something that we always touch on is the lack of education. I mean, just to reflect on this case, that it occurred at a school. This tells me that we still have to, update our education system. We still have to educate from a child level of, what does consent mean? What does it mean to have a right over your body? What does it mean when you're in danger? Little things like that, and actually having such conversations in our households as well. I think we need to look at our justice systems, in terms of why is South Africa, why is it a safe haven for predators in this country? Why do we have a good legislation on paper, but why does it not reflect when it comes to our statistics? Why is there just this counterverse picture being played out? Why is there this irony, in terms of having a good legislation but it not being played out? Why are our leadership, why do they show up on certain occasions, but why isn't this being taken seriously? Why does it have to take certain cases as opposed to recognizing this pandemic as a pandemic as opposed to single events?
Are you able to answer those questions you're posing?
Sorry, come again?
I was saying, are you able to answer some of those questions the very questions you're posing? Why do you think the situation is as you described it?
I mean, there's so many answers to the questions I've just posed. I mean, starting from, I think, something I always say is I think before we point our fingers just at leadership, I think I ask myself, not just in the position that I'm in, not just because I'm working in this field, not because of that, I ask myself as a neighbor, as a South African, what kind of country do I desire, And I think that we cannot turn a blind eye any longer. We can't afford to be nonchalant when it comes to things like gender-based violence and femicide. We can't afford to think that conversations about gender-based violence are uncomfortable anymore. Of course they're uncomfortable, but unfortunately when safety is at stake, when the livelihoods and the innocence of our children, and not just children, but women everywhere else, and anyone who can become a victim or survivor to gender-based violence and femicide, we need to recognize that we can't assume that being silent is synonymous to peace, because it's so much bigger than that, that sometimes it takes conflict to get to a point of fighting for peace, if I can put it that way. And it's we have to get to a point where, unfortunately, in a country like ours, where we need to define justice for ourselves, that because of how unjust our country is, or the state of our justice system is, we need to start finding ways to define what justice means, and taking it upon ourselves as community members, as neighbors, as individuals, and as a collective, understanding that this is not one party's responsibility to fight, if I can put it that way. That's just to answer a few of the questions I posed.
Bulelwa Adonis, thank you very much for your time. She's a spokesperson for Women for Change.